Okay, I believe it's recording. Stays there. Okay. I am Tacy Vogel, and this is my video of our post-observation conference. This is Mrs. Higgins, and she is a 4th grade teacher here at Martinsville St. Mary's. And she will actually be taking classes with you come fall. So you'll get to know Kathy closely when that happens. So, Kathy, I sent to you the Iowa Teaching Standards and Criteria form that I used during the observation. I highlighted the points that I felt that I had evidence for the Iowa Teaching Standards, and so I just want to go ahead and review some of them with you for your strength areas that I saw. I saw that the students were very engaged in your teaching, and they were very respectful throughout the conversation. And some of the things that I really saw was the engagement, the talk time was given, and respect between both. When you were speaking, the kids were listening, and when the kids were speaking, you were listening, and their peers were listening. And I felt that that was a very powerful thing in 4th grade, because they weren't talking over each other, they weren't fighting for time. Everybody had the opportunity to speak, and I felt that they felt very comfortable during that time. And so during that, whenever the students got...
We're actually in a special. She's in, I apologize.
No, you're okay.
She's in media, in library.
I walked right by her. Thank you.
During some of that engagement with the students and with the students between each other, what did you observe during the students' partner talk time?
This has been something that we've been working on for quite a while. So the great thing about this is that you're seeing growth as it's occurring, because students are no longer, typically you have one that might be the confident learner, and then you have one that just kind of follows and goes along. Now we're developing the more independent conversations. So both are contributing, both are independently thinking, and then they're sharing that thought, which is great for this group of students, because building that confidence and being able to share that openly and out loud, that's a trickier thing. So I think we definitely are seeing growth in that, because you're getting conversations from both. Not just one.
They are more of an intimate class because they're so much smaller.
Sure.
So they don't have as many people that they can kind of go to. It's just the small 14. Awesome. Well, then one of the next Iowa Teaching Standards that I felt you did a really great job on was the instructional strategies piece. I saw read alouds, cold calls, partner talk, thumbs up, thumbs down for understanding, and turned reading. And what did you feel were some of the key points that you noted about the students understanding theme, and how did you assess that when you were going through your lesson?
And that was basically just through observation, because we've been working on theme for quite a while. And once we are able to do the turn and talk, and they're getting they're brainstorming their ideas, students are openly volunteering that information. So they're coming up with themes, they're coming up with the answers, and they're openly, with confidence, expressing what they think the theme is. And there are some that may have even disagreed, but they're building from what the other student is doing. So then you're also seeing that they're independently thinking, but they're also building, and they're listening because they're building on what the other person said. So that's making them brainstorm some other thing.
Awesome.
Sorry, I talked about pain.
No, I like that. And what is one thing that you did during the lesson that you felt was most effective for them to understand theme?
I think bringing it into real world situations, and that's what we've been doing a lot with theme, because it has been a struggle. Tying it into a story is one thing, but if they're still struggling with real life situations, that's what you need to build on first. So I've been trying to build on their real life situations so that then when they read any type of story, whatever that story may be, they're able to determine what that theme is. Not just strictly always to go to, oh, it's in the first paragraph of the story. They've got to come up with what that theme actually is, and it's going to change. It's not always going to be the go-tos, friendships, and we want to be able to dig a little deeper, especially in this grade level, because they're going to need to do that, once they get into higher grades.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I know that we had talked about before this that you had used songs from recently and talked about the theme. What are some other ways that you feel that you've activated their prior knowledge?
I have used the brown bag, so I will have items, just random items in a brown bag, and they have a connection. I've used puzzle pieces where they had to connect the puzzles to come up with the picture to find out what that theme is. I've done random things like fruit. So they've got various fruits at the table or whatever, and they're trying to come up with that theme. The goal there was to just start building on that they're going together, and then we have to come up with why they're going together. Then we're doing Wonder as a whole class teacher read aloud. So pulling out what is the theme for Wonder? What is going on with Wonder? We've done something that's displayed on the wall as well, out in the hall, but it's just showing, giving them more practice time of applying their knowledge of theme in various different ways, not just the weekly reading. So
Awesome.
Hopefully that's helping.
No, absolutely. That's great. And doing those things, that you feel like that has helped increase their understanding of theme.
Yes, definitely, because they're getting more exposure. They're getting more practice time. They're applying it to real situations.
Good.
So, yeah.
And yes, that answered my question.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to move. So those are, I actually didn't get to touch on all. You answered my questions kind of as we were going, so you did a great job. So I saw the use of an exit ticket, which I thought was great. That met the Iowa Teaching Standard 3. It guided your instruction. And so one question that I didn't have on here that I do want to ask, how did the exit ticket determine their understanding of the 4RL4 and the 4RL2?
For the meaning of theme?
Yep.
So the exit ticket, the question was provided in order to get their understanding, so they had to provide what they thought the theme was and give me some type of evidence to support that.
Okay.
And that way that would help build a stronger understanding of whether or not they're grasping this, if they're truly where they need to be on this level. So.
And so whenever you, because it's been not quite a week since I saw you, so how do you feel like that those exit tickets went whenever you observed them the first time? Whenever you took the exit tickets and read them, did you feel like half the class was understanding, 3/4? Have you done that since and you've got more understanding?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
So really, I think at the very beginning we were low, definitely under the 50%. So that's when I knew that I needed to apply more practice time for developing the theme. Once we started doing that as a group and we were continuously doing that, then their levels began to rise. So this time when you observed, we were well above the 75%, which is really good. And we still have a few that are not quite where they need to be, but they're getting more confidence in, understanding that theme. And sometimes it does take a while. Like I said, from the beginning when we first started this, we have made definite growth. We're not where I want us to be yet, so we just need more practice time. I'm also including more opportunities to show theme or to determine the theme in our small groups and in our book clubs, and that's helping just get more and more practice time, which is helping a lot. When I do another extra ticket, I am anticipating that we'll be above the 85%. That's what I'm hoping for. So,
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over to some growth areas that I observed during a lesson, and so I felt like the lesson was very clean. I felt like there's a lot of yellow on here, and there could be a lot more yellow. I wish I would have videoed the observation just so I could see more. I think for me it would have helped, but one of the growth areas that I wanted to kind of talk through with you is the Iowa Teaching Standard 7. It works collaboratively to improve professional practices in student learning, and so it's that professional practice piece I'm kind of tying together. You have an associate in the room, and from my understanding, is she a one-on-one? She's shared. She's shared. That's right. And she was sitting off to the side the whole time on her phone. And so one of the questions that it's kind of a decisional question that I wanted to talk about. What things can we do to increase her involvement during the lessons with the student, or do you feel that that's appropriate at this time?
that one, I'm kind of tied because originally she was going to be in the classroom more. Unfortunately, this particular associate is being pulled in multiple directions, so she's in and out of the classroom frequently. And I think when we first established expectations for the classroom, I've always established that I don't want her to sit by the student. I don't want her to hover. I don't want her to strictly just work with that student. Because, one, our goal is to create those independent, strong learners. And if they are doing that, then she becomes a crutch versus actually helping them find those answers. So that was kind of the expectation that we started off with. And our goal was to get a really good rapport and a relationship with the students. Unfortunately, she is being pulled quite a lot. Now, do I want her to sit back here on her cell phone? No, absolutely not. But I think in that picture, it was more of a glimpse that she was in here for a brief moment, and then she was having to go somewhere else. So, but yes, typically on a normal basis, when she's in the classroom, she is floating around the classroom and just asking students questions, or if they have questions for her, then they go to her as well. Or if I'm busy, one good example would be during our writing. If I'm working with a small group back here, they may come and they may ask her to read over something, or they're struggling with this, they can't get this phrase right, can she read over it and see if she can help them with that phrase? So they are going to her, so we are establishing that relationship. Typically I would like her to be more involved with students, but I think it's more of they're using her the way that they need her, and I guess maybe that would be more of a focus. They're using her when they need her, and if not, then maybe we're doing what we need to do for those students because they're not needing her. But yeah, I think that's how I would probably.
Okay. So as a principal, if I were your principal, what types of things do you need for me to help that situation
With the associate? I think a little more consistency in schedules. If she's going to be shared and shared through multiple classrooms, maybe consistency with that. And you have to know your IEPs or know what your students are needing. The particular students that she's paired with have been behavioral, and we're in the process of actually taking them off that because they don't require it. In this classroom we do flexible seating, so they have that opportunity to move around, and their expectation is they are working with partners, they are collaborating, they are asking questions if they don't understand how to get something. And it's not, the answers shouldn't always just come from me.
They're asking their peers.
Asking their peers, using their resources. So students are up moving around a lot. So I think I've eliminated the behavioral issue, and so luckily we are in the process of having that change. So then I won't have an associate in here at all. So the only time that one friend is pulled out, it's not the associate is not necessary because she's being pulled out for specialized things. So it's just kind of a hit or miss. The associate was mainly in here for the IEPs, she had to tag along in specials because that was where some of the behaviors were coming into play. But they're not doing that this year. So everything that we're doing in the classroom is actually working well for the student. Growth is visible, and they're actually not needing that associate anymore. So now we're kind of at a lull, so when she is in here, I don't have a lot of things for her to do. And so maybe just that consistency of where she needs to be, and then maybe loan her out with other classrooms that might need her a little bit more, for some friends who do require that a little bit more.
Well, I heard you say that a more consistent schedule is what you would like. So I've jotted that down under the evaluator's responsibilities. That way I can come back and touch base on that. So down here, so based off some of our questions, some of the teacher responsibilities that I want to touch base with is, I know that your PLC, your learning goal is that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that 80% of the students for understanding text?
Proficiency in comprehension is what we're looking at. So that's our focus.
So, earlier I heard you say during the lesson they weren't where you wanted to be, so you retaught in a different way, and you used some different instructional strategies, like bringing in the other information. So how, moving forward, how long do you feel like it's taken them to understand theme?
We've been working with theme throughout the year, so and going back to the previous grade levels, we're discovering that they are touching on theme, but it's at the end of the year. So really at that point, how much are they actually getting out of that? So we know that we have to address it early on, and we know that it's something that we're addressing throughout the year, which is great because with our journeys it kind of ties in. There's always an area that we can work on theme. I know that sometimes there's a couple different targets that we can touch on, so we're touching on the ones that we know that our students are needing. So that's helping as far as guiding the type of lessons that we're doing and the direction that we want to go in, which is helping students gain that success, in comprehending what they're reading, and then developing their strategies and their skills of whether or not that's the author's purpose or theme, whatever we're focusing on. But we're giving them more opportunities to get that.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you're giving them more opportunities to be proficient, to get to that 80% comprehension levels. Okay.
Yes.
And that is your professional learning goal. How do you feel like the other classes, because do you work with 5th grade and 6th?
4th, 5th, and 6th.
So how do you feel like the other classes have been doing with that?
Good. I mean, because I think we're collaborating more, so we're communicating more per grade level. So now we understand the stepping stones that we need to have in place in order for the students in the next level, to be successful, which is great because that communication has not always been there. So this is huge strides for us, which is fantastic. The other thing is that we understand that the digging deeper, Journeys is very, very scripted, but we're realizing that we can't be that scripted because we're not going to get everything done to help students become successful. You can't put everything into that 1 week. So we are understanding or having more clarity on what we need to do for our students to get them where they need to be, which is great because digging deeper is one of our biggest things that we're trying to do with our journeys. We're taking that time to ask questions. We're taking that time to stop students and monitor their thinking and asking those questions, inferring and predicting and developing what that theme is so that they understand the purpose. And that's one big thing that we've done with our PLC groups, is that we are trying to really focus on the purpose of what we're doing, our learning target on a daily basis, not just this is what I want as a whole, but meeting those learning targets on a weekly basis is helping us achieve that 80% proficiency, because students are beginning to comprehend more of what they're reading, and not just journeys, but in any
Everything
book that they're
else.
reading. They're comprehending more, they're asking questions more, they're digging deeper, and they're doing that on their own independently. So it's definitely showing that we're doing that as a whole group, and that's meeting, that proficiency goal.
So moving forward, what do you think you're going to continue to do to make sure that you're getting that 80% proficiency?
With our PLC groups, we're collecting data, and then we're going over that data, which is great. We have a format on an Excel worksheet that we did that is everybody's using that specific design, and then that way we're seeing the gaps. And that's the great thing, because now we're realizing, okay, here's some gaps in 4th grade, here's some gaps in 5th grade and 6th grade, and then that way we are coming up and brainstorming with ways to fill those gaps. How do we make those gaps a little smaller? What do we need to do? What type of teaching or what strategies do we need to start really hitting on for students to close those gaps? And that's huge, because it's benefiting us as individuals, it's benefiting us as PLC members, teachers, and then it's also benefiting the students, because they're finally beginning to get what they're needing to be successful. And it's just digging deeper in their learning and asking those questions, like I said, and predicting, and it's just building that foundation so that it's getting stronger and stronger. Our goal is by the end of the school year, we should see the gaps getting smaller. And then that's going to help further them along. And then once they go from 6th grade to 7th grade on up, hopefully we've given them those tools that they can go back to, those resources.
Okay, so when is the next time that you guys are going to review this data collection?
That will be our next early out, which I believe is in March.
So if I stop in to see your PLC, that'll be what you guys are discussing. Awesome. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for helping me.
Yeah.
Now let's just hope it recorded.
I've done that one. Oh, no.